Today, we're going to be fixing the Kanto gym leaders by giving them new Pokemon, moves, items, and more. While these gym leaders are absolutely classic for Pokemon fans, I always felt like a couple of them were missing something.
I'm looking at you especially, Blaine.
I've never played the Gen 1 games, but I'm a huge fan of their Gen 3 remakes, Fire Red and Leaf Green. So I thought it would make sense to revamp the leaders in these games since we'll have access to newer moves and abilities. And this exercise is not meant to bring these teams up to the level of a difficulty ROM hack like Drayano hacks, so don't be too disappointed if I don't give each leader 6 Pokemon with max IVs and EVs. What we will be doing is assessing each team as they are, pointing out any potential flaws, and then providing some solutions in the form of a new team. With all of that out of the way, let's dive in. First up is the all-powerful Rock-type gym leader, Brock. We all know and love his current team, consisting of a Geodude and an Onix. I thought about giving Brock a fossil Pokemon like Kabuto, but with this being the first gym in the game, I think it makes sense to keep his team relatively simple. And something I really enjoyed about these remakes is that there are many Pokemon around that have been added before Pewter City to help take them on, like Mankey. So with that in mind, I'll make it slightly tougher by giving Geodude a Rock-type move. The move he usually learns at level 11, but mysteriously doesn't have it in the fight, is Rock Throw. But I think for the sake of the TM that Brock gives you after the battle, we'll stick Rock Tomb on Geodude instead. And I think Onix is good as is, as it's not missing any level up moves. The abilities are somewhat frustrating because Rockhead isn't really being used because neither of them have any moves that do recoil, and Sturdy is only activated on one-hit KO moves in this gen, so that's not going to be very helpful either. So I guess we'll just keep them as is. With the items we want to equip, I want to restrict each team to one item, as well as try not to overlap the use of one. So for Brock, I think we'll be giving Onix an Oranberry just to start off simple. And that's the new Brock team. Not too many changes, but I think overall, that's not a big deal, as it's the first gym of the game. Next up is Misty, and by and large, the routes the player gets access to in between gyms give them a few options to take on Misty, like Oddish and Bellsprout. So I think a slight jump in difficulty is warranted here. Her current team consists of a Staryu and a Starmie, and while her ace Starmie is a staple to her team, depending on the version of Kanto you play, Misty might have a different water type instead of Staryu. And I think this makes sense because there are so many water types in this region. So I think we should give one or two some representation here. So Misty will start out with a Psyduck at level 18 with the ability Damp, and this is because we're giving it the moves Confusion, Water Pulse, Hypnosis, and Rain Dance. My plan with moves is to use any moves available to us, including Move Tutors, Breeding, and TMs. And here, Rain Dance is a TM, and Hypnosis can be taught through Breeding with the Poliwag line. I think the idea here would be for Psyduck to go for Hypnosis to put your Mon asleep, and then set up Rain Dance and just do damage until it faints. Second out would be Goldeen at level 20 with the ability Swift Swim. So hopefully it'll be able to capitalize on the Rain Dance that Psyduck set up. Keeping in mind that Goldeen is physical, its moves would be Peck, Horn Attack, Water Pulse, and Supersonic. Goldeen's learn set and other options aren't the best, and putting Water Pulse on it doesn't capitalize on its physical attack stat, but it is the TM that the gym leader gives out, so I want to make sure it's being used here. Finally, Outlast is Starmie at level 21, who won't be seeing that much change. It'll keep Natural Cure as the ability, and the moveset will be the same. I wanted to give it a Stab Psychic move, but in Gen 3, the only one it gets via TM is Psychic, and that's just too strong for the second gen. So we decided to just keep it the way it is. And that's the new and improved Misty. And here I think I'll give Starmie a Lumberry, a la Whitney's Milk Tank. I think giving it a Recovery Berry on top of it having the move Recover is a bit overkill, so I think curing a status condition once works better here. Up next is the American, Lieutenant Surge. And right outside of Vermilion City is an entire cave dedicated to a great counter to Surge's team, so I think a decent buff is warranted here too. Right off the bat, I'll be increasing the highest level here by 1 because of how much I've struggled in the past with experience management and Nuzlocke at this point. And while his Voltorb and Raichu are great picks here, I think replacing Pikachu would be a good choice to provide more variety. I think Magnemite or Electabuzz would be great here, and while Electabuzz would be fantastic, I think it would just take some of the spotlight away from Raichu. So we'll give him a Magnemite like in the Let's Go games. So starting with Voltorb at level 22, I think Soundproof is a great ability for him, but there's just not enough sound-based moves in Gen 3 for this to really matter, so I'll be switching it to Static. For its moves, I'm giving it Shockwave, Sonic Boom, Light Screen, and Rollout. So yeah, Light Screen and Rollout are both moves that it doesn't learn until later on in its moveset, but Game Freak has done this before, so I'll allow it here. Magnemite at level 23 will have Magnet Pull, since again, Sturdy is the old version in this game. Its moveset will consist of Shockwave, Thunder Wave, Sonic Boom, and Metal Sound. I like Metal Sound here because I don't think I've ever seen it be used in a regular playthrough, and I think it could work well, getting that off before Surge's Ace comes out. And speaking of which, next out is Raichu at level 25, with the ability Static and the moves Shockwave, Thunder Wave, Thunderbolt, and Quick Attack. I really am not a fan of double team strats, so we'll give Raichu Thunderbolt instead as its move relearner move for it. So there's Lieutenant Surge. And I think we'll be giving Raichu a Focus Band, just in case the player thinks they'll be able to one-shot it with Diglett. I think this gives him a decent buff that brings him up a notch. Out next is Erica. There's a lot of game that happens between the 3rd and 4th gym. You got Rock Tunnel and a couple routes in between. You got Spearow, Ekans, Zubat, Vulpix, and Growlithe, all great counters for the Grass-type gym. So I think giving Erica a decent buff works well here. Interestingly enough, Erica's team has kind of 2 aces in Victory Bell and Vileplume. Another crazy thing is that every one of her Pokemon has the ability Chlorophyll, yet not any of them knows the move Sunny Day. And I think the Mons she's got on her team currently work well enough, so we'll just try to buff the Mons she currently has. First up is Victreebel at level 29 with Chlorophyll and the moves Sunny Day, Giga Drain, Solar Beam, and Poison Powder. The idea here is to set up Sunny Day and just destroy with fast one-turn Solar Beams. Out next comes Tangela, who's now level 28 with Chlorophyll, sporting the moves Sunny Day, Giga Drain, Leech Seed, and Sleep Powder. Hopefully Tangela will be attempting to stall out a little bit with recovery from Leech Seed and Giga Drain while keeping the opponent asleep. Finally is Vileplume, who I'm raising to level 30 and keeping the Chlorophyll ability. The moves are going to be Moonlight, Giga Drain, Sludge Bomb, and Petal Dance. Vileplume getting Moonlight from Gloom's moveset gives it healing, while Sludge Bomb is a TM it can learn, and it's much better than Acid, so I think it's warranted here. And that's it for Erica. Oh, and Vileplume will be getting the Citrus Berry. Hopefully the Sunny Day speed boost do more help than hurt, since it also boosts fire-type moves. Next up is Sabrina. This is where the real challenge begins. I think Sabrina having 4 Pokemon makes complete sense to me, but I think it needs a little bit of work. First off, we gotta swap the Kadabra for Hypno. It's a psychic type that gets sidetracked over a pre-evolution to Alakazam, so we're fixing that here. I could see Sabrina having a Slowbro, but I think saving that big boy for Lorelei would be better here. But I think an interesting swap would be changing out the Venomoth for Executor, giving Sabrina a different option for coverage while still sticking to her theme. So with that, Sabrina will lead with her Mr. Mime at level 39 with Soundproof and the moves Barrier, Psychic, Calm Mind, and Baton Pass. Ideally, this Mon would set up a Barrier, then Calm Mind, and then Baton Pass into the next Pokemon, and that being Hypno at level 40, who's got Insomnia and the moves Psychic, Hypnosis, Dream Eater, and Fire Punch. With the physical special split not in effect yet, getting Fire Punch from breeding with a Hitmonchan or Magmar would still be a special move, giving Hypno a great option to deal with those crappy Kanto bug types. Next up is Executor at level 40 with Chlorophyll, and the moves Leech Seed, Psychic, Sunny Day, and Giga Drain. The reason we gave Executor Giga Drain is almost a way to show that in-game, Sabrina has beaten Erica in the past, giving her access to the TM. Finally is Sabrina's ace, Alakazam, who's gonna stay exactly the same except for one small thing. While I think Future Sight is a great idea here, I think it makes more sense to give it a coverage move, and Thunder Punch, another punching move that is still special in Gen 3, giving it a great option, given to it through breeding with a Hitmonchan or Electabuzz. And that's Sabrina. Here, I think I'm gonna do something a little different with the item, and I think because the Twisted Spoon was pretty much created for Alakazam, I'm gonna give it 1. And I know that's a little unorthodox for typical Game Freak gym leader teams, but I think it makes sense lore-wise, and it's my video, so... Anyways, the next gym is Koga, and not much happens between these 2 gym leaders, so it's good to keep that in mind. I think for the sake of my Nuzlocking brain, I'm gonna raise the highest level once or twice, just to make some room for experience management. Okay, so Koga. He's the poison type gym leader in the game with the most poison types around. You wanna guess how many lines of Pokemon he has on his team? Oh, just 2? Yeah, that checks out. Yeah, things are gonna be changing up a bit here. Even with these changes, I want to make sure that they still relatively fit with the ninja vibes and don't overlap with other gyms' aces. So first up, replacing Coughing 1 is Golbat. With his Johto Elite 4 team giving him a Crobat, it's easy to see this change. Can you imagine playing this version of Kanto and then playing Gold for the first time, only to see that Koga was able to gain the friendship of his Golbat in between games and evolve him again? So Golbat at level 41 will have Inner Focus and the moves Fly, Bite, Confuse Ray, and Toxic. This guy is meant to get you poisoned and confused, and that's about it. Next out is Muck at level 43, who I don't think is Koga's ace, but really deserves to hold the Black Sludge, so it can take advantage of its ability, Sticky Hold. But as I was writing this, I found out that Black Sludge was created in Gen 4, so I just decided to add the Poison Barb here instead, unfortunately. Muck's moveset will consist of Sludge Bomb, Toxic, Protect, and Acid Armor. I think Minimize is just a cheap concept at this point, so I think going the Toxic Protect route still works a little nicer here. And up next, instead of Coughing 2, is Venomoth. With Venomoth out of Sabrina's pocket, it's now open to be put on Koga's team. I did think about adding either Tentacruel, Arbok, or Beedrill here instead, but its presence in the E4 team really is what sold me on its inclusion. Venomoth will be at level 41 and have the ability Shield Dust, and have the moves Silver Wind, Psychic, Sludge Bomb, and Protect, which is pretty self-explanatory, with Silver Wind being a move relearner move. Finally, Weezing is out last at level 44, with Levitate and the moves Sludge Bomb, Flamethrower, Haze, and Toxic. Just in case you thought setting up against Koba's Weezing, Haze has been included to eliminate that from being a thought in your head, and Flamethrower has been added for coverage. I think with all of those changes in mind, we've made Kova a little more of an adversary for that mid to late game grind. Speaking of which, Blaine is up next, and with just recently getting access to Surf and many encounters to pick up a Water-type Pokemon, the player should have plenty of options to circumvent the Fire-type gym leader, which is why he's known for being a bit of a joke sometimes. So let's do our best to balance him out a bit. His current team has a lot of room for improvement, only including Pokemon from 2 lines. Firstly, I think the best thing we can do for him is giving him a 5th Pokemon, with being the 7th gym leader and all, and a little more diversity on his team. First up is Flareon at level 44 with Flash Fire and the moves Sunny Day, Bite, Fire Blast, and Takedown, being a level up move before evolving. With Blaine and Bill having a very subtle connection, I think it makes sense to give him an evolution here. This guy is just meant to set up the sun and use his massive physical attack stat with Takedown. Next up is Rapidash at 45 with Flash Fire and the moves Sunny Day, Fire Blast, Bounce, and Solar Beam. Hopefully this horse will be able to capitalize on the Sunny Day to hit a 1-turn Solar Beam on the possible water types out there. Next up is Ninetales at level 45 with Flash Fire and the moves Sunny Day, Will-O-Wisp, Fire Blast, and Feint Attack as coverage. I would have loved to have Shadow Ball or something on Ninetales here, but it doesn't get that option back in Gen 3. So with Feint Attack being special in Gen 3, it works great here as it's learned by breeding with the Meowth line. Following Ninetales is Magmar at level 44 with Flame Body and the moves Flamethrower, Confuse Ray, Sunny Day, and Brick Break. Brick Break here is a TM in the Kanto region, working great against any potential incoming Rock-type Pokemon on the field. And last but not least is Arcanine at level 47 with Intimidate and the moves Fire Blast, Extreme Speed, Bite, and Roar. And that's about it for Blaine. And for the item, we'll give Arcanine the King's Rock to boost its chance of flinching on bites. Not much has changed here on Arcanine due to not having many other options, but I think the rest of the team's gonna have a nice buff that's really gonna help out here. And that's the revamped 7th gym. Finally, the moment we've all been waiting for. The 8th gym leader, Giovanni. And in this game, in between gyms, the player has the option to take on the first 3 islands of the Sevi Islands, giving the player even more potential encounters to Giovanni's ground-type Pokemon. So I think the 5 Pokemon team works great here. However, on his current team, we have a duplicate Mon, so I think this warrants some change. And even though Giovanni's highest level Mon is unevolved at level 50, I think that level still works for this gym, so we'll be keeping it here. First up, instead of Rhyhorn 1, it's going to be Golem at level 47 with Rockhead and the moves Earthquake, Rock Blast, Double Edge, and Explosion. Maybe if the threat on the other side of the field is too strong, Giovanni will throw out an Explosion and attempt to neutralize it. Next up is Dugtrio at level 46 with Sandveil and the moves Sandstorm, Earthquake, Tri-Attack, and Aerial Ace. With Tri-Attack being a move relearner move and Aerial Ace being a TM, Dugtrio's got a few coverage moves for the player to work around. Next up is Nidoqueen at level 48 with Poison Point, and with access to plenty of TMs in this game. So there's plenty of options for both Nidos here. For Nidoqueen, her moves are going to be Earthquake, Sludge Bomb, Crunch, and Superpower. I think this is a realistic moveset with not too crazy picks out there, and a few buffs to weaker moves in that same type. For Nidoking, at level 49 with Poison Point, however, we're giving it Earthquake, Sludge Bomb, Shadow Ball, and Mega Horn. With the combination of the two, it'll be difficult to get past them without some interesting strats. And finally is Rhydon at level 50 with Rockhead, as Lightning Rod doesn't boost special attack until later gens. Its moves are Earthquake, Mega Horn, Double Edge, and Rock Slide. And that's all I got for Giovanni. And for the item, this choice might also be a little outside the realm of possibility with Game Freak's design choices, but I think the Quick Claw is going to work great here in order to keep the player on their toes with the possibility of Rhydon outspeeding them. So there you have it. Those are my versions of the revamped Kanto gym leaders. I wanted to focus on maximizing the uses of the Pokemon that each gym leader could have realistically used without making each fight close to impossible. And I really enjoyed giving each leader a single held item to work with. I think each were positioned well. What do you think of the teams? How would you have improved them with these limitations? Let me know in the comments down below. And if you liked what you saw, consider liking the video and subscribing to the channel. I'm really enjoying making these videos, and I'll have a new Nuzlocke video coming out very soon. But anyways, thanks for watching. I've been O Creations, and I'll see you all in the next one.